There is a silent truth that lives beneath the noise of your thoughts, beneath the weight of your past, beneath the identity you have carefully constructed and defended for so long. It whispers instead of shouts. It waits instead of demands. And if you become still enough, if you soften your grip on who you think you are, you will hear it say, the more you let go, the more life gives you. Let me ask you something gently but directly. What are you holding on to right now that is holding you back? What memory, what resentment, what fear, what need to control is clenched so tightly in your fist that your hands are no longer open to receive? You see, life cannot place new blessings into closed hands. The universe responds not to force, but to allowance, not to grasping, but to surrender. Imagine you are standing at the edge of the ocean. You scoop up a handful of water and you grip it tightly, determined to keep it. What happens? It slips through your fingers. But if you cup your hands gently, relaxed and open, the water rests there effortlessly. This is how life works. The ego believes that survival depends on holding on. The soul knows that abundance flows to those who trust. You are not here to struggle against the current. You are here to become one with it. The ego says, if I let go, I will lose. The soul says, if you let go, you will be carried, and the ocean does not argue with the wave. The wave may believe it is separate, may believe it must fight for its form and defend its shape, but in truth, it has never been separate from the ocean. It rises, it falls, it dissolves, and the ocean remains. You are not the wave, you are the ocean. When you cling to a grievance, you are saying to the universe, I choose pain over peace. When you cling to a failed relationship, you are saying, I trust my fear more than I trust life. When you cling to an identity built from past wounds, you are saying, I am what happened to me, but you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become in this moment. The past has no power except the power you give it. It is a memory, a thought, a story, replayed again and again by a mind that believes its survival depends on keeping the wound alive. But what if you simply decided that the story no longer defines you? What if you became like the sky, allowing clouds to pass without trying to rearrange them? The sky does not chase away the storm. It does not cling to the sunshine. It allows, and in allowing, it remains vast, untouched, infinite. You are the sky. Your thoughts are the clouds. Let them pass. Letting go is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It takes no courage to defend a grudge. It takes immense courage to release it. It takes no awareness to blame others. It takes profound spiritual maturity to say, I choose peace instead. And when you choose peace, something miraculous occurs. Energy that was once trapped in resentment becomes available for creation. Energy that was once tied to fear becomes available for love. Everything is energy. Every thought you think vibrates. Every emotion you feel sends a signal into the field of infinite possibility. When you hold on to anger, you tune yourself to the frequency of anger. When you hold on to lack, you align with scarcity. But when you let go, when you surrender your need to be right, to be validated, to be in control, you rise to a higher vibration. You align with abundance itself. The ego thrives on comparison. It whispers, look at them. They have more. They are ahead. You are behind. But abundance is not a competition. The sun does not compare itself to the moon. The oak tree does not resent the rose. Each fulfills its purpose without measuring itself against another. When you let go of comparison, you step into your own divine design, and life begins to support you in ways you could not have imagined. Consider the orange. If you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. It could not produce apple juice or grape juice. What comes out is what is inside. When life squeezes you through loss, through betrayal, through uncertainty, what comes out? If anger comes out, it was inside. If fear comes out, it was inside. But here is the liberating truth. You can change what is inside. You can fill yourself with compassion, with trust, with forgiveness. And then when life squeezes you, love will flow. But you cannot fill a cup that is already overflowing with yesterday. Let go of the need to replay conversations that ended years ago. Let go of the imaginary arguments you win in your mind. Let go of the belief that holding on to pain honors your suffering. It does not. It prolongs it. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It is the decision to free yourself from carrying what no longer serves your soul. Ask yourself, who would I be without this story? Who would I be without this resentment? Who would I be without this fear? And feel the spaciousness that arises when you contemplate that question. That spaciousness is your true nature. It is the field of infinite possibility. It is where miracles occur. When you let go, you create space, and nature abhors a vacuum. The space will be filled. But what fills it depends on your intention. Intention is not something you do, it is a force that you align with. It is the invisible energy that organizes the universe. When your intention is peace, you begin to see opportunities where once you saw obstacles. When your intention is love, you attract experiences that reflect love back to you. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. So, who are you being? Are you being the victim of your past, or are you being the creator of your future? Are you being the fearful protector of an ego identity? Or are you being the infinite soul expressing through a human form? The more you let go of who you think you should be, the more you become who you truly are. There is a profound paradox in the spiritual journey. Surrender leads to power. The ego equates surrender with defeat. But surrender is simply the recognition that you are not separate from the intelligence that beats your heart and spins the planets. You do not command your heart to beat. You do not instruct the sun to rise. There is a divine orchestration at work, and you are part of it. When you resist it, you suffer. When you align with it, you flow. Flow does not mean passivity. It means inspired action. It means acting from clarity rather than fear. It means trusting that what is meant for you cannot be taken from you. It means releasing the need to control outcomes and focusing instead on embodying the highest version of yourself. What if the very thing you are clinging to is the very thing blocking your next miracle? What if your insistence on a specific outcome is preventing the universe from delivering something far greater? When you let go of the how, you allow the infinite intelligence of life to surprise you. Look at nature. The tree releases its leaves in autumn without panic. It does not cling to them and say, "Without these leaves, I will not survive." It trusts the cycle. And in that trust, new leaves appear in spring. But imagine if the tree refused to let go, the old leaves would decay and suffocate new growth. This is what happens when you refuse to release old identities, old roles, old pain. You suffocate your own renewal. Let it fall away. Let the labels dissolve. Let the need for approval fade. Let the attachment to outcomes soften. In that softening, you discover something extraordinary. You were never lacking. You were never incomplete. You were simply entangled in illusion. The ego is an illusion of separateness. It tells you that you must defend yourself, compete, prove, achieve, accumulate. It measures worth by external markers. But your worth is not earned. It is inherent. You are a divine being having a human experience, not a human desperately trying to become divine. When you let go of the need to prove yourself, you begin to experience life as a gift rather than a test. You begin to wake up each morning with curiosity instead of anxiety. You begin to see challenges as teachers rather than threats, and something subtle but powerful shifts within you. You move from contraction to expansion. Expansion is your natural state. Joy is your natural state. Love is your natural state. Fear is learned. Scarcity is conditioned. Resentment is practiced. But just as you learn them, you can unlearn them. You can choose again. Choice is your greatest power. In this moment, you can choose to release. In this moment, you can choose to trust. In this moment, you can choose to say, I am not my past. I am not my fear. I am not my limitations. I am infinite possibility expressing itself. And when you say that, not just with words, but with conviction, the universe responds. The more you let go of control, the more you experience synchronicity. The more you let go of fear, the more you experience love. The more you let go of scarcity, the more abundance finds you. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. Abundance is not something you chase. It is something you allow. Peace is not something you earn. It is something you remember. Love is not something you find. It is what you are. Let go of the belief that you must struggle to deserve what you desire. Let go of the belief that suffering is noble. Let go of the identity that says, this is just who I am. You are not fixed. You are fluid. You are not confined. You are expansive. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the presence within you that is aware of these words. That awareness has never been harmed. It has never been diminished. It has simply observed. That awareness is your true self, and it is free. When you live from that awareness, you move through the world lightly. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to control every outcome. You no longer need to cling to every possession or person. You love deeply, but you do not grasp. You engage fully, but you do not attach. And paradoxically, the more lightly you hold life, the more richly it fills your hands. So today, make a sacred decision. Decide that you will release one thing that no longer serves you, one grievance, one fear, one outdated belief. Offer it to the universe. Say, I trust you more than I trust my fear, and watch what unfolds. Because life is not withholding from you, it is waiting for you to open. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not because life was stingy before, but because you were closed. Open now, trust now, release now. You are not losing anything real. You are shedding illusion. You are returning to truth. You are remembering that you are the ocean, not the wave, the sky, not the cloud, the infinite, not the temporary. And in that remembrance, abundance flows. In that remembrance, love multiplies. In that remembrance, you are free. And as you begin to live from this remembrance, something subtle yet undeniable starts to transform within you. You notice that the urgency that once drove your decisions begins to dissolve. The pressure to arrive, to prove, to perform starts to feel foreign, almost unnecessary. You realize that life was never a race to a finish line, it was a dance, and you were meant to feel every step. There is a sacred intelligence woven into the fabric of existence, a quiet harmony guiding all things toward growth. The seed does not strain to become the tree. It does not question whether it is worthy of sunlight. It simply responds to its nature. And you, too, have a nature, one that is creative, loving, expansive. But when you resist your own unfolding, when you cling to rigid expectations of how your life must look, you interfere with that intelligence. Surrender is not giving up on your dreams. It is releasing the illusion that you must force them into form. It is trusting that the same wisdom that shapes galaxies also shapes your path. When you allow this trust to settle into your bones, you move differently. You speak more gently. You listen more deeply. You act not from anxiety, but from alignment. Consider how much energy has been spent trying to manage the opinions of others. How often have you edited yourself to be accepted? How many times have you silenced your truth to avoid disapproval? The need for validation is a heavy garment, and it was never tailored to fit your soul. When you remove it, you feel lighter, more authentic, more at ease in your own presence. The approval you seek outside is a reflection of a deeper longing, the longing to accept yourself fully. And self-acceptance does not come from achievement. It comes from awareness. It comes from recognizing that your essence is untouched by mistakes, untouched by judgment, untouched by comparison. Beneath every role you have played is a being of immeasurable worth. When you release the demand to be understood by everyone, you free yourself to understand yourself. When you stop seeking agreement, you begin to embody integrity. And integrity is a magnetic force. It draws to you experiences and relationships that resonate with your truth. Life responds to authenticity. When you no longer chase what is not meant for you, you create room for what is. Opportunities begin to appear in unexpected ways. Conversations unfold that feel divinely timed. Doors open that you did not even know existed. This is not coincidence. It is coherence. It is the natural result of being in harmony with your own spirit. And harmony requires stillness. In the quiet moments, when the world is not demanding your attention, you can feel the gentle guidance within. It does not shout instructions. It offers impressions, nudges, subtle inclinations. The soul speaks in whispers, but if your mind is crowded with fear and attachment, you will miss its voice. Let go of the noise. Release the compulsion to fill every silence. Allow space between your thoughts. In that space, insight emerges. Clarity arises. You begin to sense which actions feel expansive and which feel contracted. Follow what expands you. That expansion is the language of your higher self. There is a profound difference between effort and struggle. Effort is aligned with purpose. It feels energized, meaningful, alive. Struggle is rooted in resistance. It feels heavy, draining, forced. When you let go of resistance, effort becomes joyful. You work not to prove your worth, but to express it. Expression is the natural overflow of a soul at peace. And when you live as an expression rather than a performer, you stop measuring your value by outcomes. Success and failure lose their grip. You begin to see every experience as part of a larger tapestry. Even what once seemed like loss reveals itself as redirection. Even what felt like rejection becomes protection. Trust this unfolding. There are moments when life will ask you to release something you deeply cherish, a role, a relationship, a vision you held dear. In those moments, fear may arise, but beneath the fear is an invitation to expand beyond what you thought was possible, an invitation to step into a new dimension of yourself. Growth often requires emptiness before renewal. Do not rush to fill the emptiness. Sit with it. Let it teach you. Within that space, you discover resilience you did not know you possessed. You discover that your identity is not tied to any external circumstance. You discover that you are capable of beginning again. Beginning again is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of courage. Every sunrise is a reminder that endings are illusions. The sun appears to set, but it is merely shifting perspective. What you call an ending is often a transformation beyond your current understanding. When you release your attachment to a particular form, you allow the essence of what you love to reappear in new and surprising ways. The heart that lets go does not become empty, it becomes spacious. And in that spaciousness, compassion deepens. You begin to see others not as adversaries, but as fellow travelers navigating their own lessons. Judgment softens, empathy grows. You recognize that everyone is doing the best they can with the awareness they have. This recognition does not excuse harmful behavior, but it frees you from carrying bitterness. Compassion is liberation. When you view life through the lens of compassion, you no longer take everything personally. You understand that others' actions are reflections of their inner state, not a measure of your worth. This understanding dissolves unnecessary conflict. It protects your peace. Peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of centered awareness. As you cultivate this awareness, you notice that your reactions change. Where you once reacted impulsively, you now respond consciously. Where you once felt threatened, you now feel curious. You begin to ask, what is this moment teaching me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? This shift in questioning transforms your reality. The mind that seeks blame remains trapped. The mind that seeks understanding evolves. When you approach life as a student rather than a victim, every experience becomes valuable. Even discomfort becomes a guide, pointing you toward areas that need healing or growth. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about integrating it with wisdom. You do not need to pretend that pain did not occur. You need only release the identity built around it. You can honor your journey without being defined by its hardships. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are evidence of survival. But survival is not the final destination. Thriving is. Thriving begins when you stop resisting who you are becoming. There is a version of you emerging right now, more aligned, more intuitive, more at ease. This version is not striving to be superior. It is simply aligned with truth, and truth feels expansive. It feels like coming home after a long journey. Home is not a place. It is a state of being. When you are at home within yourself, you do not fear change. You welcome it. You understand that life is movement, and you are part of that movement. You stop trying to anchor yourself to certainty and instead anchor yourself to awareness. Awareness is unshakable. Circumstances will shift. People will come and go. Roles will evolve. But the awareness that observes it all remains constant. When you identify with that awareness, you experience freedom even in the midst of transition. Freedom is not the ability to control everything. It is the ability to remain centered no matter what unfolds. And from this center, generosity flows naturally. You give not to receive, but because giving is an expression of abundance. You share your time, your kindness, your creativity, without fear of depletion. Why? Because you understand that the source of what you give is infinite. When you give from fullness, you receive without asking. Life mirrors your internal state. If you feel whole, you see wholeness. If you feel grateful, you encounter reasons for gratitude. Gratitude itself is a form of letting go of complaint, letting go of entitlement, letting go of the belief that something is missing. Nothing essential is missing. You may desire more growth, more connection, more joy, and that desire is natural. But it need not arise from deficiency. It can arise from inspiration. There is a difference between wanting because you feel incomplete and wanting because you are excited to expand. Expansion fueled by joy feels effortless. As you continue this journey of release, remember that letting go is not a single event. It is a practice. Some days it will feel natural. Other days it will require courage. Be gentle with yourself. Transformation is not linear. It spirals, revisits, deepens. Each time you release, you rise. Each time you trust, you strengthen your connection to the unseen support that surrounds you. You are not navigating this life alone. There is a field of intelligence responding to your every intention. Align your intention with love, with truth, with peace, and watch how reality rearranges itself. You are a co-creator, not through force, but through frequency. Not through domination, but through alignment. The more you align with your highest self, the more life reflects that alignment back to you. And so you continue, lighter than before, softer yet stronger, surrendered yet empowered. You walk forward, not clutching, but open, not fearing, but trusting, not demanding, but allowing. And in that allowing, life pours into you with a generosity that once seemed unimaginable. Because you finally understand it was never about holding on. It was always about becoming free enough to receive. And so you stand here now, not as someone who has conquered life, but as someone who has softened into it. The armor has fallen away. The tight grip has loosened. The restless striving has quieted into a gentle trust. You no longer ask life to bend to your will. You ask only to be aligned with its wisdom. Feel the spaciousness within you. There was a time when you believed that safety came from control, that love required possession, that success demanded strain. But now you see more clearly. The river does not force its way to the sea. It flows, because flowing is its nature. And you too have a nature, a divine rhythm that moves you toward growth, toward connection, toward joy. When you stop resisting that rhythm, you discover that you have always been supported. Nothing real can be taken from you. Nothing essential can be withheld. What falls away was never your foundation. What remains is unshakable. You are not defined by what you accumulate. You are revealed by what you release. Each surrender has made you lighter. Each act of forgiveness has made you stronger. Each moment of trust has expanded your capacity to receive. And now you understand in the deepest part of your being that life is not something to conquer, it is something to commune with. Breathe into that knowing. You are not here to cling. You are here to create. You are not here to defend a fragile identity. You are here to remember your infinite nature. When you loosen your hold on fear, love rushes in. When you relinquish your attachment to outcomes, miracles find space to enter. When you surrender the illusion of separateness, you experience unity with all that is. And in that unity, there is no lack. There is only unfolding. There is only becoming. There is only the quiet, radiant truth that as you release what you are not, you awaken fully to what you have always been, whole, guided, abundant, and free. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not because life has changed, but because you have. There comes a moment in every human life when the soul whispers a truth so simple, so liberating, that the ego trembles at its power. You were not born to chase, to cling, or to beg for love. You were born whole. You were born connected to the infinite source of all creation. And when you remember this, when you truly remember this, something inside you softens. The tight grip loosens. The fear begins to dissolve. And you realize that letting them go is not a loss. It is a return to yourself. So many of us have built our identities around who stays and who leaves. We measure our worth by the presence of another. We tell ourselves stories. If they choose me, I matter. If they stay, I am lovable. If they leave, I am not enough. But who taught you that your value is dependent on another soul's journey? Who whispered that lie into your consciousness? That was not the voice of your higher self. That was the voice of the ego, the part of you that believes you are separate, small, incomplete. Imagine for a moment that you are like the sky, the vast, infinite sky. People are like clouds. They drift in, they drift out. Some are dark and stormy. Some are light and luminous. Some stay for years, others pass in moments. But none of them define the sky. The sky does not cling to a cloud and say, please don't go, I am nothing without you. The sky remains expansive, open, untouched in its essence. You are the sky. When someone leaves your life, it is not the sky that is damaged. It is only a cloud that has moved on. And yet the ego screams, hold on! Without this cloud, you will be empty. But the soul knows better. The soul knows it has never been empty. It knows it is connected to the infinite ocean of love that birthed it. Let them go. Let them go, not because you are bitter, not because you are resentful, but because you trust the deeper intelligence of life. The same intelligence that moves the tides, that opens the flowers in spring, that spins the planets in perfect harmony. This intelligence is guiding every soul, including the ones who walk away from you. You cannot hold a butterfly by crushing it in your fist. Love cannot survive under control, and happiness cannot be built on the fear of abandonment. The ego says, if I am alone, I am unworthy. The soul says, when I am alone, I remember who I truly am. To be alone is not to be lonely. Loneliness is the cry of the ego that has forgotten its source. Aloneness is the sacred space where you rediscover it. There is a profound difference when you learn to sit quietly with yourself without distraction, without noise, without reaching for someone to fill the silence. You begin to hear the gentle hum of your own being. You begin to feel the presence that has always been there, the same presence you felt as a child when you stared at the stars and wondered at the mystery of existence. That presence is you, not the roles you play, not the relationships you accumulate, not the labels you wear. You are the awareness behind all of it. And awareness does not need validation. Why do we cling so tightly? Because the ego believes love is scarce. It believes there is a limited supply, and if this person leaves, there may not be another. But love is not a commodity. It is not something another person gives you. Love is what you are when you are aligned with your source. An orange squeeze will release whatever is inside of it. If anger comes out when life squeezes you, that anger was already within you. If love comes out, that love was already there. When someone leaves and despair pours from your heart, it is not because they took your happiness. It is because you had placed your happiness outside of yourself. This is not a judgment. It is an awakening. You see, the world has taught you to seek externally, to chase approval, to collect relationships like trophies. But the deepest spiritual truth is this: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. When you are grounded in your own wholeness, when you are happy alone, you become magnetic not because you need someone, but because you radiate completeness. Let them go. Let them walk their path. Bless them in your heart. Release the story that says their departure diminishes you. You cannot lose what is meant for your soul's evolution. And what leaves was never yours to possess. It was yours to experience. Every relationship is a teacher. Some teach you joy, some teach you patience, some teach you boundaries, and some teach you the most sacred lesson of all, how to stand on your own spiritual feet. The ego fears standing alone because it confuses solitude with abandonment, but solitude is where the mystics go to meet God. Solitude is where the artist finds inspiration. Solitude is where the wounded heart heals itself. When you learn to be happy alone, you become dangerous to the ego-driven world. Because a person who is happy alone cannot be manipulated. They cannot be controlled by the threat of rejection. They cannot be coerced into shrinking themselves just to keep someone close. They love freely, and freedom is the highest vibration of love. Ask yourself gently, who would I be if I stopped chasing? Who would I become if I stopped trying to convince someone of my worth? What dreams would awaken inside me if I redirected all that energy inward? There is a reservoir of untapped power within you. But as long as you are pouring your life force into holding on to someone who is meant to go, you cannot access it. Let them go so you can meet yourself. The ego thrives on drama. It replays conversations. It imagines alternate endings. It seeks closure through explanation. But the soul does not need closure. The soul understands that every ending is simply a transition in form. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change shape. The love you shared does not disappear. It transforms. It becomes wisdom. It becomes strength. It becomes compassion. And sometimes it becomes the courage to say, I deserve peace. There are no justified resentments. Every resentment is a poison you swallow, hoping another will suffer. When someone leaves and you hold on to anger, you remain energetically entangled. True freedom comes not from holding on tighter, but from releasing with grace. Forgiveness is not condoning. It is freeing yourself from the chains of attachment. Say quietly within your heart, I release you. I release myself. I choose peace over possession. Feel the shift when you say it. Feel the lightness. Happiness alone is not a consolation prize. It is the foundation of spiritual maturity. It is the recognition that you are not half of a whole waiting to be completed. You are a whole being, inviting another whole being to share the journey. When two people who are happy alone come together, they do not cling, they expand. They do not demand. They offer. They do not fear loss, because they know their essence cannot be taken. The ocean does not grieve when a wave returns to its depth. It knows the wave was never separate from it. In the same way, when someone exits your life, understand that you both arose from the same source. Nothing real can be lost. You are not your relationship status. You are not the story of who left you. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are the awareness in which all of these experiences occur, and awareness is eternal. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your life as a vast ocean. People are waves that rise and fall. Some waves are magnificent and powerful. Others are gentle and fleeting. But the ocean remains deep, steady, infinite. Be the ocean. Stop identifying with the waves. When you can sit in your own presence and feel content, when silence no longer frightens you, when your joy does not depend on a text message or a validation from another, then you have remembered your divine identity. And from that place, relationships become sacred, not desperate. You begin to ask, not will they stay, but does this connection align with my highest self? You no longer negotiate your peace to avoid being alone. You understand that being alone with peace is infinitely richer than being accompanied by turmoil. Let them go, not with bitterness, but with blessing. Trust that life is rearranging itself in your favor. Trust that the empty space is not emptiness, but invitation. Invitation to deepen your relationship with yourself. Invitation to create, to explore, to grow, to rest. The ego says, without them you are incomplete. The soul smiles and replies, I was complete before they arrived. There is a sacred dignity in choosing yourself, in saying, I will not abandon myself to keep another. When you abandon your own truth, your own needs, your own boundaries, just to prevent someone from leaving, you create suffering. Not because they left, but because you left yourself. Return. Return to your center. Return to your breath. Return to the knowing that you are an individualized expression of the divine. You are not here to cling. You are here to expand. The more you release, the lighter you become. The lighter you become, the higher you rise. And from that elevation, you see clearly, no one was ever meant to complete you. They were meant to accompany you for as long as your paths aligned. When paths diverge, bless the divergence. Say thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the growth. And then, with courage born of spiritual awareness, step forward alone. For in that aloneness, you will discover something miraculous. You will discover that you are not alone at all. You are held by the same intelligence that beats your heart without your command. You are guided by the same wisdom that orchestrates galaxies. You are loved by a force so vast that no human departure could ever diminish it. Feel that now. Feel the presence within you that has never left. The presence that was there before your first relationship. The presence that will remain after your last. Anchor yourself there. And from that anchor, live freely, love freely, release freely. Let them go. And in doing so, learn the most sacred art of all, to be happy alone. And as you begin to rest in this inner anchoring, something extraordinary happens. You stop negotiating with life. You no longer plead with the universe to rearrange itself according to your preferences. Instead, you align yourself with what is. You begin to see that resistance was never protection, it was tension. It was the ego's attempt to outsmart the wisdom of creation. There is a sacred intelligence moving through every experience you have ever had. It has never once made a mistake. Not in the heartbreak, not in the silence, not in the unanswered calls or the doors that quietly closed. What if those moments were not punishments, but precise redirections? What if the very absence you feared was the clearing necessary for your becoming? The ego is addicted to attachment because attachment creates identity. I am the one who was chosen. I am the one who was left. I am the one who needs. But these are costumes, not truth. Beneath them is a being untouched by circumstance. Beneath them is a consciousness that existed before any name was given to you. When you stop clutching at the forms of life, you begin to experience the formless. And the formless is where peace lives. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast desert at sunrise. There is nothing to grasp. No walls, no distractions, just space, endless space. At first, it may feel intimidating. The mind searches for structure, for something to lean on. But if you stay long enough, if you allow yourself to breathe into that openness, you realize that the space is not empty, it is alive. It is possibility itself. This is what your solitude truly is. It is not a void, it is a field of infinite creation. When you release someone, you are not stepping into nothingness. You are stepping into potential. You are reclaiming the energy that was once tangled in expectation and returning it to its pure state. And in that purity, you rediscover your creative power. The universe responds not to your desperation, but to your alignment. It mirrors your internal state. If you vibrate with fear of abandonment, you will perceive instability everywhere. If you embody wholeness, you will attract experiences that resonate with that wholeness. This is not mystical fantasy, it is spiritual law. You are not here to chase what runs from you. You are here to become so rooted in your own essence that what aligns with you finds you effortlessly. A flower does not pursue the bee, it simply blooms. Bloom, allow your life to unfold without gripping at outcomes. Trust that what belongs in your experience will remain without force, and what must depart will do so regardless of your resistance. Why exhaust yourself trying to control what was never yours to command? There is tremendous strength in allowing. It is not passive. It is not weak. It is a conscious surrender to a higher order. When you surrender, you are not giving up. You are giving over. You are saying, I trust the greater design more than my limited perception. And in that trust, anxiety dissolves. So many people believe that independence means isolation, but spiritual independence is something entirely different. It is the realization that your joy does not require a witness, that your laughter does not need validation, that your worth is not determined by another's recognition. Can you sit in a quiet room and feel fulfilled simply by your own presence? Can you walk through life appreciating your own company? This is not arrogance. It is reverence. Reverence for the divine spark that animates you. The ego whispers, without constant connection, you will disappear. But your true nature cannot vanish. It is not dependent on attention. It is sustained by Source itself. There is a freedom that comes when you stop performing for love. When you no longer edit your thoughts, soften your truths, or dim your light to keep someone comfortable. When you release the need to be chosen, you finally choose yourself. And choosing yourself is not selfish, it is sacred. It is an acknowledgement that you are responsible for the energy you bring into this world. If you abandon your authenticity to secure companionship, you fracture your spirit. But when you honor your inner knowing, even if it means standing alone for a season, you strengthen your alignment. Life is not asking you to cling, it is inviting you to evolve. Every ending is an initiation. Every departure is an invitation to ascend into a new awareness. When someone exits your life, the question is not, why did this happen to me? The deeper question is, who am I becoming because of this? Pain can either close your heart or deepen it. The choice is yours. You can build walls to protect yourself from future loss, or you can expand your capacity to love without possession. Love without possession. This is the art. To care deeply while understanding that nothing in the physical world is permanent. To appreciate fully while knowing that change is inevitable. To give your heart without binding it in chains. When you embody this understanding, relationships become lighter. They become conscious exchanges rather than contracts of fear. You stop measuring security by duration and start measuring it by alignment. And if alignment shifts, you allow the shift. There is something profoundly beautiful about a person who can say, I loved you deeply, and now I release you peacefully. That is spiritual maturity. That is mastery over the ego's impulses. The ego demands certainty. The soul embraces mystery. You are not here to guarantee outcomes. You are here to experience growth. Sometimes growth requires companionship. Sometimes it requires solitude. Both are sacred. Both are teachers. When you learn to be content within yourself, you stop chasing the illusion that someone else holds the key to your fulfillment. You realize that fulfillment is an inside job. It is cultivated through awareness, gratitude, and alignment with your higher self. Gratitude shifts everything. Instead of focusing on who is absent, focus on the presence that remains, the breath in your lungs, the beat of your heart, the quiet resilience that has carried you through every storm so far. You have survived every goodbye you once thought would break you. And here you are, still breathing, still becoming. That is not weakness. That is evidence of your inner strength. There is a luminous core within you that has never been wounded by rejection. It has observed your experiences without being defined by them. When you meditate, when you sit in stillness, when you withdraw from the noise of external validation, you begin to feel this core. It is steady. It is calm. It is untouched. From this place, you understand that nothing real can threaten you. Only illusions can dissolve. And when illusions dissolve, truth stands revealed. The truth is that you are not incomplete. You are not abandoned. You are not behind in life because someone chose a different direction. You are precisely where your soul needs to be. Let life unfold without gripping it. If someone chooses another path, bless their journey. Their departure is not a verdict on your value. It is a reflection of their alignment. And alignment is deeply personal. It cannot be forced. It cannot be negotiated. Release comparison. Release the temptation to question your worth. Worth is inherent. It is not earned through another's commitment. As you deepen into this awareness, you begin to experience a quiet joy, a joy that does not fluctuate with external circumstances, a joy that arises from simply being, not striving, not proving, not seeking, just being. In that state of being, you become magnetic to life itself. Opportunities emerge, connections form organically, creativity awakens, not because you chased them, but because you aligned with your essence. And if someone new enters your life from this place, it will not be from lack, it will be from overflow. You will share your joy rather than search for it. Until then, cherish this sacred season of self-discovery. Do not rush through it. Do not label it as waiting. You are not waiting. You are becoming more aware, more grounded, more aligned. Let others misunderstand your solitude if they must. Let them project their fears onto your independence. You know the truth. You know that your aloneness is not emptiness, it is expansion. And as you expand, you recognize that love was never something to chase. It was something to embody. So embody it. Be gentle with yourself. Speak kindly to your own heart. Celebrate your growth. Honor your resilience. The journey of releasing attachment is not always comfortable, but it is liberating. You are learning to stand without leaning, to love without clinging, to exist without performing. This is freedom. And freedom is the birthright of every soul courageous enough to remember who they truly are. And as this freedom begins to settle into your bones, you start to recognize that what once felt like emptiness was actually spaciousness. There is a profound difference. Emptiness feels like something is missing. Spaciousness feels like something is possible. One contracts your spirit, the other invites it to expand. For so long, perhaps you filled every silence with noise, every ache with distraction, every pause with pursuit. But now you are learning to sit within the pause. You are discovering that silence is not your enemy. It is your teacher. In the quiet, you begin to notice how much of your suffering was born from resistance. Resistance to endings, resistance to change, resistance to the natural rhythm of arrival and departure that governs all of life. The trees do not cling to their leaves when autumn comes. They release them gracefully, trusting that spring will return. Why, then, do we believe we must hold on to every person, every chapter, every version of ourselves? Because the ego fears dissolution. It equates change with annihilation. It whispers, if this ends, you will disappear. But you have ended 1,000 chapters before this one. Childhood ended, seasons ended, friendship shifted, and yet here you stand, still breathing, still conscious, still evolving. You are not the chapter, you are the author. When you begin to see yourself as the awareness behind the experience rather than the victim within it, everything shifts. You stop asking, why was I left? And begin asking, what is life guiding me toward? This is the turning point. This is where pain becomes initiation. There is an ancient understanding that the soul chooses growth over comfort, not because it enjoys struggle, but because expansion requires it. When someone walks away, it often cracks open the parts of you that were asleep. It forces you inward. It compels you to examine the beliefs you held about love, about worthiness, about dependency. And in that examination, you awaken. You begin to see how often you shaped yourself to be acceptable, how frequently you silenced your intuition to avoid conflict, how many times you ignored your own needs to preserve a connection. This is not cause for shame, it is cause for awareness. Awareness is the first act of liberation. When you let them go, you are not only releasing another person, you are releasing the version of yourself who believed she or he needed to be less in order to be loved. That version served its purpose. There is a more authentic you emerging now, a you that understands that love is not proven through sacrifice of self, a you that recognizes that harmony cannot be sustained by suppressing truth, a you that values inner alignment more than external approval. This emergence may feel unfamiliar at first. Growth often does, but stay with it. The discomfort is temporary. The clarity is enduring. As you stand in your own presence without reaching outward for completion, you begin to sense a quiet companionship with life itself. You notice the way the sunlight falls across the floor, the way the wind moves through trees, the subtle rhythm of your own breath. These simple moments, once overlooked, become profound. You are not missing anything. In fact, you are finally present enough to receive what has always been here.